Let me tell you something wild. Right off the bat, if you'd asked anyone in this city who Malik was just a month ago, they'd have shrugged, looked past you, maybe even crossed the street. But tonight, if you'd been anywhere near that cracked old junkyard at the city's edge, you'd have seen something that changes how you look at strangers forever. Because this isn't just a story about a lost little girl or a desperate runaway. This is about how, when the world turns its back, sometimes a kid who's got nothing left decides he'll risk everything. You know what I mean? It started at sundown, with the sky heavy and bruised, orange lights spilling like a warning over crumbling concrete and rusted fences leaning like they'd finally given up. Nobody with options came here. Broken windows, blind and empty, watched over alleys littered with old dreams and new dangers. That's where Malik lived or survived, if you want the truth. 12 years old, skin dark as coffee grounds, eyes sharp as razors, she moved through the shadows with a worn-out bike and his mother's faded blue ribbon knotted tight on his wrist. That ribbon was about the last sacred thing he had, and even it was just one more memory in a city that never bothered to remember him. He'd been hunting for cans every aluminum bottle worth a few cents closer to cough syrup for a sick friend when it happened. He was knee-deep in trash, hands scratched up, when he heard the voices mean, urgent, the kind that make the rats scatter. You had one job, man. One. And you let her go. Malik froze, heart pounding like a drum. Two men, one in a filthy red varsity jacket, the other twitchy, both stinking of beer and fear, stalked the yard. She's worth a fortune, one hissed. We find her, or we're dead. You know that feeling when you realize you're seeing something you can't unsee? That's where Malik was, except walking away wasn't in him. Maybe it was his mom's voice, still rattling around in his head. If you hear someone crying, you help, or you hear that cry forever. He wasn't leaving, not tonight. So he ducked lower, held his breath, and slipped deeper into the maze of busted cars and broken dreams. Every sound made him flinch, every shadow a threat until he heard it. A cough. Soft, desperate. Not the cough of a man, but a child. Following the sound, Malik found her, wedged between a mountain of junk and an old mattress, 6, maybe 7, skin pale and blotched with fever, blonde hair tangled, pink dress torn and filthy. Her eyes, though, those were huge, terrified. Are they gone? She whispered. Malik knelt down, voice low. We gotta move, kid. This place ain't safe. She could barely stand, but he scooped her up anyway, like she weighed nothing. His old bike creaked under the extra weight hell. It was barely hanging on itself, but he wrapped her in his father's army jacket and pedaled off into the gloom, heading for the only place he called home, a tarp under an overpass, shielded by pallets and old crates. On the ride, he whispered, "Hang on, little one. I got you. No one's hurting you tonight." Now, you might think this was where things slowed down, but life never does that for the people who need it most. By the time they got to Malik's hideout, the girl was shivering hard, face red and slick with sweat. Malik didn't panic. He laid her on his one clean blanket, checked her forehead burning. He counted out his coins short. Not enough for medicine. He looked at her, so small and out of place in his world, and knew what he had to do. He grabbed his coins, tied the ribbon tighter, and pushed his bike toward the pharmacy, half praying, half cursing the city lights. He got there, breathless, dirt-streaked, barely reaching the counter. "Is this enough?" he asked the pharmacist, pushing forward every cent he owned. The man just stared, silent, then shook his head. Malik's face fell. Without thinking, he untied the ribbon, laid it gently on the counter. "This worth anything?" The man glanced from Malik to the ribbon, and after a beat, maybe, seeing something in the boy's eyes he couldn't ignore, he slid the medicine over and waved him off. "Go!" Malik raced back, heart thundering, hands shaking as he measured the syrup. "Are you an angel?" the girl whispered, half delirious. Malik grinned. "Nah, angels don't rock shoes held together by duct tape." He stayed up all night, sitting beside her as city noise drifted in. Once he heard footsteps, distant shouting, maybe those men, maybe ghosts. Didn't matter. He kept watch, fighting sleep, because that's what a protector does. By dawn, her fever had broken a little. "My name's Emily," she told him, voice a shade stronger. I need to go home. But Malik knew getting her across the city, past cops, past the men who were after her, would be a whole new battle. Still, looking into her eyes determined, scared, but hopeful, found himself nodding. I'll get you there. But you gotta trust me. He dressed her in his spare, clothes sweatshirt, beanie, jeans cinched with string until she looked like just another kid lost in the shuffle. They set out, weaving through alleys, dodging questions and hard stares. Malik never once complained. Though his legs burned, the bike chain slipped, and Emily clung to him tighter with every bump. At one point, hiding behind a boarded-up store, Emily asked, "Why are you helping me?" Malik shrugged, voice soft, maybe cause someone should. That stuck with her, you could tell. A twist came at the city's edgiest, suspicious old woman almost called the cops, and for a split second Malik thought they were done. But Emily, scared but brave, smiled and waved, and the woman just shook her head and sent them on. Eventually, they made it to Glen Ridge, a whole different world, big lawns, clean cars, sunlight glinting off white fences. Malik's hands tightened on the handlebars, nerves crawling up his spine. He didn't belong here, and everyone could see it. Just as they reached the bottom of Emily's Hill, a black SUV pulled up, tinted windows, crawling slow. Malik's heart hammered. "Hold tight," he whispered, and pushed up the hill with everything he had left. At the top, through the iron gate, stood Emily's homey mansion, shining, silent. Malik stopped at the edge, suddenly unsure, but Emily spotted her father on the porch. She leaped off the bike, sprinted across the lawn. "Daddy!" The man scooped her up, breaking down, his joy echoing across the yard. In seconds, the place erupted, security, sobbing, people shouting. Malik backed away, hands up. "I didn't do anything," he called, panic cracking his voice. But Emily, still clinging to her dad, yelled, "He saved me. Don't hurt him." That changed everything. The family came out, not angry but grateful. Emily's mom hugged her daughter, then turned, eyes searching Malik's face. "He found me. He took care of me," Emily said, pointing right at him. A man in a suit stepped forward. "What's your name, son?" Malik hesitated, asked him that in months. "Malik," he whispered. Emily's father, Charles, stepped forward, offered his hand. "I'm Charles Davenport. That's my daughter. You brought her home." Malik stared at the hand, then shook it. Something big passed between the man, understanding, maybe that for a moment they'd both been powerless, but not anymore. They brought Malik inside. For the first time, he saw what warmth looked like, real warmth, not just heat from a busted radiator. Carpet, clean sheets, framed photos on the walls. Emily waved him over to the couch, made space for him. He sat, awkward, until Charles insisted he eat something. Nurses checked him over, sandwiches appeared, and slowly, the tension started to fade. Emily told her parents everything, never once leaving out Malik's name. Each time she said it, the room softened a little, as if letting him in, inch by inch. As sunset turned the house gold, Charles and his wife sat across from Malik, voices quiet but steady. "You saved our daughter. There's no way to repay that, not with money, not with gifts. But maybe with something better." Malik blinked, wary. "What do you mean?" Charles took a breath. "The men who took Emily have been caught. You're safe. But if you want, we'd like to welcome you into our family. Officially, as our son." For a second, Malik didn't believe it. He looked at Emily, at Charles, at the woman crying happy tears. "You really want me?" Charles smiled. "More than anything." Malik nodded, words stuck behind a tidal wave of emotion. That night, Malik slept in a real bed, beneath sheets that smelled of lavender, in a room with his name taped to the door. Weeks passed. Papers went through. School started. Malik kept his old bike, and sometimes he and Emily rode together, laughter echoing down the same alleys where they'd once fled for their lives. Then, one quiet afternoon, a silver plaque appeared under the Davenport family name at the gate. Malik Elijah Davenport. The boy with nothing, finally home. But here's the thing, happy endings are just pauses. There will always be people who question what's fair, what's right, who belongs, and who doesn't. So what do you think? Was it luck, fate, or something deeper? Let us know below, because real justice, real family. That's a debate worth having. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Start your day with something that makes you feel, and share your own thoughts about kindness, courage, and what makes a community real.